in a rare instance, the Bombay High Court has upheld 2 orders of the civil court in Nanded directing a wife working as a teacher to pay 3,000 rupees monthly maintenance to her former husband, upholding the orders passed by the lower court. So the High Court has directed the woman to pay 3,000 rupees as interim maintenance as alimony. The civil court has asked, in fact, the headmaster of her school to deduct 5,000 rupees from her salary every month because it has to cover the arrears as well, and then deposit the same with the court towards unpaid maintenance since August 2017. So very interesting here that this, in fact, has woken up the society to the fact that either spouse can claim alimony under the Section 25 of Hindu Marriage Act. And this is what the Bombay High Court also highlights while passing this order. And yes, this is setting a new precedence in a way, because there aren't as many cases, or we haven't heard in the recent times, of a husband claiming alimony and a wife being directed to do so. So I would like to, in fact, introduce our guest this evening joining us here on the program. Okay, joining us here on the program is Shilpi Jain, senior lawyer, also Deepika Bhardwaj, activist, and Aditya Singh, advocate, joining us as well. Thank you so much, all three of you, for giving us your time. I want to first quickly go across to my colleague Apeksha, who will take us through what the Hindu Marriage Act says when it comes to alimony. Apeksha.
Absolutely. In fact, Afrida, I'd like to mention that this judgment that has come, the order that has come from the court, has been welcomed by, everybody from all quarters. Now, let's quickly take a look at what is the thing that we are talking about, what the criteria of alimony is under the Hindu Marriage Act. Now, the first, it says that application can be made by either the wife or the husband. So anybody here can, ask for the alimony. The second one being, whoever has no independent income is eligible. Between the two of them, whoever is the dependent one, who doesn't have a source of income, is the one who can be asking for financial help. The next one being, source is entitled, the court may direct payment to applicants. Now this, of course, is something that needs a court intervention, where they're saying that the court may direct the payment to the applicant, whoever makes it. The next one being, the payment period must not exceed the applicant's lifetime. So this is, a very obvious thing, that once within the lifespan of a person, the two individuals here involved, it should be done within that time frame. The next one being, the income property of both parties should be considered. This is in the spirit to maintain a fairness, so that nobody feels like I am the one who's not earning well, but I'm still being asked to look after the other party. The other one being the conduct of parties involved to be considered. Now this is, of course, in taking into consideration certain cases of domestic violence, sexual abuse, those things. So that also it has to be taken into consideration, that what kind of a situation the couple is in. And also, of course, the last one being other circumstances in the case to be considered when either of them apply for the alimony under the Act.
Right, thanks Apeksha for joining us. According to our system, as per Hindu Marriage Act, financial obligations of spouses continue even after marriage. In this case, what is also important to note is that both the counsels, of course, for the husband and the wife, and so far as the counsel for wife is concerned, argued that the wife took responsibility of the child later, and therefore the husband is not entitled to the maintenance in this case. But the husband's side of the counsel said that he looked after the household during the period of marriage and he kept his career aside. It's interesting because we hear these arguments often, but it's not always. It's very often the woman from whose side we hear this argument of keeping the career aside. Here, the shoe seems to be on the other foot. Now, these arguments were placed, and like my colleague pointed out, already the Bombay High Court has now ordered the wife to pay the maintenance amount. In fact, I would like to ask our guest this evening, Shilpi Jain, coming to you first. Justice Bharati Dangre, in this case, like I said, rejected the wife's contention that since the couple's marriage had ended with a divorce decree in 2015, they were married for 23 years, the husband couldn't now seek monthly maintenance. One of the arguments was the lapse of time. Do you think that was a point that the court dismissed in its right wisdom?
In matrimonial disputes, whenever one of the spouses files for maintenance, whether it's the husband or the wife, the other spouse, even if he's employed, gives up the employment, because the basic requirement of law is that only a person who is earning will pay. So this is an alibi. The moment a petition for maintenance is filed, either spouse will become unemployed and he'll say, I have no source of income. So one is the courts need to go beyond what is apparent to the eye and read between the lines. Now, having said that, as far as maintenance laws are concerned, they are close to being nil with regard to women, which is one of the reasons why the law of harassment 498A under criminal law to a limited extent is misused. Because then through criminal law, the petition or the wives or the aggrieved spouse uses that criminal law to her advantage to try and bring about out-of-court settlement and compel the husband to make, agree to her terms of paying a huge amount of maintenance. As far as maintenance laws are concerned, we have the Domestic Violence Act under which the person can get maintenance. We have 125 under the CRPC under which person can get maintenance, and then the Hindu Marriage Act. Now, having said that, there's absolutely no clarity with regard to the grounds or the extent, or whether it's 50%, 20%, nothing. Unlike the countries in the West, where there's a clear-cut mathematical formula that if this is the income of both the spouses combined, then this is what either of the spouse gets. So we need to urgently relook at the laws. Now, having said that, I think in this case, the husband seems to have got a second thought, and whenever there is a delay, the advantage goes to the petitioner. Now, when in this case, if the woman is alleging that it was an afterthought and there's a huge amount of gap after which he was claiming maintenance, because the basic criteria is that if he could live that long without support of income, how come he is now becoming handicapped? And there are judgments of the Supreme Court which clearly say that in case the husband is asking for maintenance and claiming that he's unemployed and he's otherwise able-bodied, then there has to be a very clear-cut test. One, is he able-bodied? Two, if there is a physical or mental infirmity.
But ma'am, the law doesn't say that. The law doesn't bring in the physical capability or being able-bodied at all. It only talks about financial capability. Whichever side is financially weaker can claim maintenance, if I understood it correctly.
That's what I'm saying. So there is no clarity as far as maintenance laws are concerned in India. That's exactly what I'm saying. The statute is incomplete. It's incompetent to really go into the graphic.
Okay, there's some disturbance with your audio link as well. Let's correct that first. Aditya Singh, do you agree? Firstly, on the point of misuse, that, I mean, just for the sake of argument, there can be people with that kind of intention, a malified intention, to get into a marital alliance with the hope that if a divorce comes through, then the man can get maintenance. I mean, it can work both ways, isn't it? So here, with this kind of a precedent, do you think that this leaves scope for misuse, that kind of misuse?
Well, first of all, my answer is no. I do not think it can leave any scope for misuse. Come to think of it, today's ruling should not come as a surprise, because this has been the position of law since 1956. We have sections 24 and 25 of the Hindu Marriage Act, which provide that either the husband or the wife can apply for maintenance. And this position of law, especially section 24, the essence is whether the either spouse is in a position to maintain himself or herself or not.
Yes.
And further, if we order see, the language of section 24, that where it appears to the court that either spouse has no independent source of income or for her support. So, what matters the most is income, the flow of money. You may be having a flat, no problem, but if you don't have an income, that is what the court will consider. Number two, is there any possibility for misuse? I say that it might no longer be the case. because the Honorable Supreme Court of India, in the case of Rajneesh versus Neha, passed in 2020, has very clearly said that parties in any matrimonial proceeding, say DV or especially DV, domestic violence, as well as any proceeding, be it in family court, because they have to file an affidavit of list of all assets and liabilities, 3 years bank account statements, each and every financial detail before the Honorable Court. This is because the Honorable Supreme Court literally said that it had enough of people trying to hide their income, showing only the income tax return, and the court is well aware that the income tax return also does not give the full picture. So what the Supreme Court today has said, both spouses should give on affidavit, on oath, give a full and complete disclosure of all their financial assets and incomes to the court, and then the court can take the same into account by passing a judgment. And yes, if any information is suppressed, then the parties can face perjury as well as other proceedings, even contempt in the matter. So yes, suppressing information will be counterproductive for either party.
The primary ground, like you mentioned, is to assess the financial status of either of the spouse. I mean, in this case, of course, the husband was the applicant, and the court found that the husband is the financially weaker party, and in all fairness, as per law, the wife was directed to pay maintenance. But, you know, Deepika Bhardwaj, we are asking whether this is a progressive thing. But, you know, to my mind, what is the big deal? Why are we assuming that a woman is not capable of providing, for instance? Why is it such a big deal made out of this, that here is a case where you have the woman, the wife, being made to pay maintenance? In today's world, and as a working woman myself, I don't find anything extremely new or unusual about this. In all fairness, I mean, even for feminists here, you know, whoever would bring in that point of view should be happy and welcome that, yes, this is a level playing field, and so be it if that is what the law says.
Well, Afrida, first of all, I am quite surprised on all the attention that this news is getting, because first of all, it is 1 out of probably 1 lakh cases where wife has been asked to pay maintenance to the husband. There are endless cases where wife is actually the more earning party. She is actually the more independent one. And still, if she seeks maintenance from the husband there are at least 5 provisions under which a wife can seek maintenance from husband, and there's only section 2425 of HMA in which a husband can seek maintenance. This is one of the rarest orders, but I would still call it progressive because somewhere the courts have fastened responsibility on the wife also for maintaining her husband. The only thing that I want to mention, which though I fight for men, but I'm a very, very equal, neutral person. I think this whole idea of fastening liability on one spouse after all the relationships have ended, divorce have been granted. You know, I can understand that some people can be in a situation where they do not have a job, they cannot work, they cannot sustain themselves. I think there has to be some, semblance of sanity to this. Maybe one spouse can maintain the other spouse for 2 years, 3 years until the person becomes capable or tries to, earn a livelihood. In one of the matters, Kerala High Court in few months ago, where also a husband was seeking maintenance from the wife, said that, if an able-bodied husband is provided maintenance from the wife, then it would be akin to promoting idleness. But courts do not see it this way when absolutely capable of earning women seek maintenance from the husband. So this for me is rarest of the rare order, but it's somewhere kind of equalizes the equation and puts out the fact that if the woman is more educated, more earning, and she has all the, wherewithal to maintain herself, then can she pay a small amount to the husband also if he's not able to earn a livelihood, even when the divorce has passed. So I would see this as a progressive judgment. But
yes,
at a larger level, I think we need to look at the maintenance laws in India. They should not promote people, snatching somebody else's hard work just because they were married at some point of time. Neither the husband nor the wife, I would say.
Absolutely. The court has relied on Section 24 and 25 of the Hindu Marriage Act to state that they confer a right on the needy spouse to claim interim maintenance or permanent alimony. Now, there's a distinction here. There are 2 kinds, like I said, 2 sections. One is for during the pendency of the appeal, where the applicant is entitled to get maintenance during the period where the appeal is being heard, and of course the permanent maintenance, but after the decree or the divorce is passed. Now, I also want to understand here from the two lawyers on the program, Shilpi Jain, that it's going to be a very long-drawn battle anyway. So after all, this is only about Section 24, is it? Because there again, the amount is rather small. There's a huge difference between the maintenance amount that is decided as a permanent maintenance amount and the maintenance for during the pendency of the appeal. So in your experience, what happens in most cases? Do people really end up getting what, or are there further appeals and it just goes on long enough that it never comes to fruition, finally, the amount of maintenance that the court has ordered in the first instance?
Well, that varies from case to case. Usually, it will depend on whether either spouse, whoever has been directed to pay maintenance, is willing to pay it. If not, they obviously will contest it till the last court. Now, one of the panelists was saying that it's progressive judgment. Yes, it is progressive, but in our context, in the context of our country, do we have level playing field for the women? Really, we don't. The fact is, let's look at it right in the face. Women have to work twice as hard to prove themselves, even the few who are working. I am a woman who's a professional, and I know how I had to struggle against all odds in the beginning. Of course, once you prove yourself, but it takes much more effort and time for a woman to prove herself in comparison to the men. We have a very small section in the society working. We have a very, very highly patriarchal society, which is changing, but the change is very slow. Dowry deaths are still the highest in India. 498A harassment of women still remains extremely high. Even in metropolitan cities, dowry is a menace we have not been able to fight at all. With all these circumstances, can we truly and in a fair manner put women at the same pedestal or, at the same level as a man? Now, as far as the judgments are concerned, that's what I was saying. When the statutes are not very categorical or specific about what the requirement is, that's when the courts step in. And those courts, the judgments become binding in explaining the law. Whether it's a woman or a man, but more so a man, because in our society we have, a society which is patriarchal. Men are the bread earners. So the judgments are that if a man is, taking the defense that he is not earning, then the circumstances have to be looked into. Otherwise, every man against whom there is a maintenance petition, by my experience, 90% of them do take that, even if they are, from premier institutes, they withdraw from the job and go on leave. They say we'd rather show ourselves unemployed while the petition is pending. Even people who've been working in America, so many of my clients, the women have had to struggle to prove that these men are otherwise able and capable.
Yes, even in this case, let's be very fair. I mean, here is a school teacher. Now she has to shell out 3,000 rupees per month for the husband's maintenance during the pendency of the appeal. And then, of course, the permanent maintenance decision is still pending. Deepika Bhardwaj, how do you respond to this? To the fact yes, go ahead.
This is, I'm sorry if Shilpi ma'am is not having very consonance with the judgment in this just one case. I'm sure she is aware that there are endless cases where it's thousands of husbands in the situation of the wife in this case who are asked to pay maintenance. No matter if the wife is earning, she is earning pretty well. They are asked to in fact pay 30% of their maintenance. There is a man from Lucknow right now who has been talking to me. He is blind. He has to take other support to go to the court also. He has been asked to pay 25,000 rupees to his perfectly healthy woman who is earning, but since she is earning in a beauty parlor, this poor blind man cannot prove that she is earning. There is a man here in Delhi who was completely disabled. He was thrown thrice in the jail for not paying maintenance to his wife. So yes, we are a patriarchal society, but here all the responsibilities in this patriarchal country is fastened always on the man, not on the woman. There are rarest of the rare cases like this where a woman is also asked. And now if we look at this judgment itself, 2017, 2015, since then the maintenance is pending. So this wife is also doing exactly the same thing. There's nothing else that she is also doing. Anybody who would
No,
have
I
very,
understand. You are
know,
talking about the proportion, and I totally take your point that if you really look at the ratio of such cases, there will be far higher number of cases where women do not get their maintenance, and you are saying that here is a case, and there are enough, you are saying that there are cases where men also are unfairly targeted, they're falsely implicated. There might be many such issues. But my point is, yes, go ahead, Mr. Singh. I'm saying this paves the way. This also shows a certain amount of gender parity, which as self-respecting society, we should be also proud of, is what I'm saying. Yes, go ahead.
Just one thing that I want to, sorry, Mr. Singh, just one thing I want to say, Afrida, this is a case where you can, if you look at it, the circumstances are where, you know, the genders are reversed. It's the man here who was staying at home, taking care of the kids. He allowed the wife to, you know, progress in her career. And those are all the points that he has made, that, you know, I have sacrificed
Comments
my
from the
life.
other two guests. Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Aditya, go ahead.
Yes, well, see, first and foremost, now I understand that, you know, some people are calling it a patriarchal society. Some people are saying that there is a dowry menace. Now, so let us separate the hyperbole from the truth. Yes. See, we are looking at a post-marriage scenario. And be it the Domestic Violence Act or Hindu Marriage Act, the first and foremost is the party should demonstrate that you are unable to support yourself. Now, see, the law does not allow gold digging. Let's suppose husband might be a multimillionaire, but the wife, you know, or rather, if the wife is a multimillionaire, but the husband is capable of having a job, having an income, having a roof over himself, then he might not be in a position to claim maintenance. Here the law will not play the, you know, remember, the law is not Robin Hood. However, regarding cases where people leave the jobs and show themselves as unemployed, law will not accept this. Because in the law of maintenance, there is a doctrine of mitigation. Even in contract also, you know, in every aspect, that if you have suffered a loss of income, if you have, you know, if you're not being supported, if you're qualified, have you taken any steps to remedy? Okay, one spouse may say, I don't have any form of support. But the law will ask him, do you not have a degree? Have you not applied for a job? And to that extent, the maintenance entitlement can even be adjusted or reduced.
Yes.
Let's suppose.
Yes.
Yes.
There is scope for the maintenance to be revoked as well. There are grounds based on which the maintenance can be revoked if circumstances change. If either party gets married, or if there is, I believe, if there's a case of adultery, even in that case, the maintenance can be revoked. But we'll have to leave it at that. Unfortunately, completely out of time. Thank you so much for joining us with your informed opinion on the subject.